What up? What it do? It's your boy JDQ and the crew with Vision I View. All right, I got my main co-host Wabicito, all right, aka David, or is it the other way around? No one
Sup, sup,
knows.
sup.
Yeah, so we got one of the main co-hosts tonight's show, and this is actually going to be a I guess a brief recap of the stream that I did last night. I believe the 21st of November, when I actually was talking about the fall of Lucifer and how that has affected humanity or mankind from when that happened all the way up until now, and how it's going to continue like affecting mankind. Because we're going to get into like specific reasons of why I titled that stream that way, but we're going to get into it in a few minutes. Before I get into that, though, just a quick reminder, all right? If you're trying or wanting to help the channel grow, all right, there's a few things you could do for that. You can subscribe to this channel. You could give this video a thumbs up. That way, the algorithm picks up on it and shares it to other people who might be interested in hearing what we got to talk about. And also, sharing these streams and the channel itself forward with your friends and family also helps a lot. All right, huge reminder. Also, if you wanted to help sustain the channel financially, you don't have to, but if you can and want to, the option is right there on the bottom left, bottom right corner. QR codes for both my Cash App and the PayPal, just to help sustain the channel moving forward. All right. That being said, yeah. So last night it was an interesting stream because I kind of like felt it in my gut to do a stream, kind of like a little bit on the fly. And the topic in hand is a little bit controversial and it's very there's a lot of depth to it. And I think I did a good job with the people in the chat because it was a live stream. It wasn't recorded or nothing like that. It was like on the fly stream. And I believe the people that were in the chat and myself did a good job at kind of like uncovering that topic a little bit. But after it was done, I felt like you know I could have done like a little better at digging a little deeper into that topic, and I kind of wish I would have prepared a little better for that, but it's okay because it happens, especially when it's kind of like an in the moment type of thing. But that being said, I was talking with my brother here earlier today, and I kind of like let him feel, or I let him know how I was feeling about last night's stream, and I kind of asked him, "Hey, man, do you think you could kind of like help me add a little bit of like more commentary on the topic at hand and the matter?" And sure enough, he agreed to it, and he did what he could with the research as far as like researching that topic goes. And yeah, we're gonna talk about it again tonight, but we're gonna kind of like dig a little deeper into the topic. But yeah, so David, before we even like start talking about all that,
Yeah.
real quick, you and I are both musicians, right? I'm a former musician, but you're still an active musician when it comes to like playing the piano, being active on the drums, and all that. And you and I both understand the importance of worship, right? And praise when it comes to the faith and what it does in the spiritual realm, how it kind of like opens that I don't know what word to use, but it kind of opens up the channel of communication between God and man and God. It kind of allows God to hear our voice a little clearer
Yeah.
because when we're rendering worship and praise, He's kind of like leaning in a little more because, I mean, as we both know, mankind was created to praise and worship God.
Right.
So anytime someone of the faith or anyone in general, to be honest, actually genuinely like praises and worships God, it is my belief and my understanding that it kind of like eases the communication between us and God and vice versa. Would you agree?
Yeah. So I mean, like as you're talking right there, I'm thinking about different lots and lots of verses, right? Especially in the Psalms, where the concept of worship is kind of like tied with, like instruments. and singing and praising. So I really think it's really tied to it. I know there's a lot of people, and I mean it's kind of sad because the whole worship concept has kind of like been like robbed by like music. So a lot of times when people hear the word worship, all they think about, or the only thing that they think about, is music. And if we go to that extreme, we're kind of not understanding the concept of worship, right? But to say that it is not tied with, that it's not close to, that it's not worship, would be missing the mark, right? So I believe that is really important, right? Um, Once you're a musician, you're always a musician. So even though right now maybe I might not be playing, right, at the church that you're at, right, but once a musician, always a musician. So yeah, interesting topic. I think we might not be able to go as deep as we want to, because it's something that, like you said, we need a lot of time to go into the verses. I believe a lot in the importance of expository preaching, expository teaching. So the people that are hearing that word, or that concept, basically is us really going to the word and just bringing out what the word is saying without us adding any flavor to it. So I really believe in the importance of that. I think the church, I think we need that a lot right now. So a lot of these topics, sometimes people kind of add a lot of stuff in there, right? So that we've been hearing since we were little. Maybe sometimes not biblically based. Maybe we saw it somewhere or somebody said it, so we just have been repeating it. So I think it's very important what you're doing, right? So let's like go to the word and see what the word says about this. What does the word teach about this, and what can we get out of this? So really excited to join you on this one.
Appreciate that, man. And all that was very well said. 1,000% agree with all that. And for those of you who did not know or were wondering, my brother here, he actually is the pastor at his church back on the island in PR. And he has the blessing of both being a musician and knowing that, things from that point of view, and then also being a pastor and looking at things from the other point of view. All right. So, okay. Last night, I kind of like covered a lot of things, but it was more like a crash course type of thing. And I mentioned how Lucifer, obviously before the fall, was lead in worship and praise amongst all the angels. He was the angel to follow when it came to praise and worship. And the verses that I read, kind of like I explained it, of course, how it was talking about the king of that time, but it had a parallel explanation of pretty much like the story of what happened to Lucifer. And there's a lot of moments like that in the Bible. That's just one of the ones that people like gravitate towards when talking about this topic, right? Now, in your research, right? Would I be correct in stating that Lucifer, before the fall, was indeed lead in prayer and worship amongst the angels, and that his abilities and talents, to a certain degree, kind of like led him, or I guess kind of like gave way for him to kind of like start little by little, gradually like falling and into his own demise because of him feeling himself too much and saying, "Oh, like I'm like the go-to angel. I'm like the one angel that all these other angels look up to and they follow." And so I believe I can be just as God, or ascend my throne above God Himself. Would I be correct in assuming that these things were factors into his demise and his own downfall, or was it just me?
So I think this is one of those things that I think you perfectly said it yesterday, and I'm kind of like holding this around. Can you see me get there?
Yep.
Yeah. So my bad, kind of like changing the set right here, like on the fly. I think this is one of those things that, like you were talking about yesterday, that there's different opinions and different interpretations and different ways of looking at the text. So you have different theologians kind of like giving a different commentary on these verses, right? So I don't know if you could give it to me right now, so we could kind of like go to it, and maybe we could open up some of these commentaries on these specific verses. I think it's very important. The other day I was talking to one of the youths from my church, and I was explaining to him the importance of some things that are negotiable and some things that are not non-negotiable, right?
Right.
So there's some things, and when we are gonna discuss or like debate or kind of just like talk, and so we could grow about these topics that I consider that are not negotiable. And there's some things that I'm like, I guess how you could see that or how you can't see that, but I don't think it's really that essential, right? If it is 100% or it's not 100%. So this one, do you got it ready? The verse, so I can look it up on this side.
I'm trying to pull it up on the actual like tab so I can share it on the screen so we can like both look at it like together. And
Yeah, but
the
it was
internet is
Isaiah.
yeah, Isaiah. I think it was chapter 14, verse 7, or something along those lines.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to put it up on this side. Because I think it's very important to see if we're able to get kind of like a commentary on that verse, just to
Yeah, so
kind of see, because like you were saying yesterday, some theologians kind of see it that it had to be to that specific king at that moment, but it's a type of, right? It's a type of, like, I'm speaking to this person right now, but at the same time, it could be speaking to that other type. So I think I'm saying a lot, right?
yep.
Instead of
No.
14.
You're fine. You're fine. So I mean, it's Isaiah chapter 14, verses 12 through 14.
Versus what?
Verses 12 to 14. I mean, you could read more of those verses if need be, but the main ones are verses 12 all the way to 14.
Okay. So I'm putting up a commentary. It's like a Matthew Henry.
Oh, good. I love Matthew Henry. Good stuff. Good Bible scholar right there, or theologian,
So
if you will.
let me read this one part, right? So it says, "Great pride and haughtiness. Notice is here taken of his pomp, the extravagancy of his retinue. He affected to appear the utmost magnificence, but that was not the worst. It was the temper of his mind and the elevation of that ripened him for ruin. Thou hast said in thy heart, like Lucifer, I will ascend into heaven. Here is the language of his vain glory, borrowed perhaps from that of the angels who fell, who not content with their first estate, a post assigned them, would vie with God and become not only independent of him, but equal with him. Or perhaps it refers to the story of Nebuchadnezzar, who, when he would be more than man, was justly turned into a brute. The king of Babylon here promises himself. So, like, up to this moment, like, most of this, if not all, is speaking specifically to that one king, right? So, going through this part of this commentary, like, really quick, um, is talking straight to that king, about that king, right? It's not comparing him, or it's not going deep into um Lucifer, right? This one part right here, I don't know if you ever looked at Job 38:7. So right here, it kind of mentions this has been commonly alluded to, and it is a mere allusion to illustrate the fall of the angels who were as morning stars. But how have they fallen? How are thou cut down to the ground and leveled with it, that this weaken the nations? Right. So I'm guessing from this kind of like commentary, he doesn't really align it, right? He doesn't really um sees that comparison. Now, I'm thinking we could kind of look at other commentaries and sees which ones of them do agree that that's a right interpretation.
Right, right, right.
I haven't really been too in depth with this topic to kind of like give too many opinions on different commentaries, but I know I've heard it in the past from different people. Is this something that it's one of those things that we really should take our time and looking into the word and see if the interpretation that we have heard in the past is really expository teaching, right? Preaching. That the hermeneutics behind it are really lining up to what the Bible says.
All right. And exactly how you said. There's we have to like not only pass it through like a secondary opinion. Sometimes we have to pass it through like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different opinions,
Yeah.
and kind of like really, um, pretty much like filter it as much as we can through like these Bible scholars that really take the time to like dig deep into this type of topic.
Mm-hmm.
But moving forward from there, let's say it is true. Let's say it is officially like aligned with that possibility that it was a parallel. Um, like on one hand, yes, um, Isaiah was talking directly to the king, and at the same time, while he was talking directly to the king, what he was saying was a foreshadowing of what had happened with Lucifer, right? So let's say it is true. Let's say
Right.
that's official and that is correct. Going from there, uh, do you think that Lucifer, understanding how much power he had through what he was able to do through music and through what many would consider like nowadays an equivalent to worship or praise, right? Do you think him knowing the magnitude of what he was able to do, right, with all that talent and ability and gift, right? He kind of like said to himself, well, if I can't do what I want with this gift and this ability in heaven, then I'm going to use it to my benefit down here on earth. Do you think at some point, and this is just personal opinion, of course, I'm not going to say, biblically, if is this correct or not, but
Right.
from your understanding, and kind of like knowing more or less, uh, pretty much from what we have read from the Bible, how Satan is, do you think that's something that crosses his mind? You know,
I mean, I think the possibility is there, right? The possibility is always there. Let's say he was in charge of the music. Let's say he was in charge of like doing that whole worship thing, right? So let's say he was, right? So I think it would be one of the ways that he would use to steal glory from God, right? And to try to get the glory for himself, or just to distract glory, or to distract God from receiving the glory, and just making sure that we're worshiping everything else but God, right? So I think it is one of the ways that the enemy uses to disconnect us from God. One of the things that I would say, I could see how a lot of people would go straight to the music aspect and kind of like stay in that territory. I see it as an he's everywhere aspect.
right.
Um, and so if you think about like movie stars, right, they get a lot of attention and people start praising them, start worshiping them, right? So It's a gift. Like I think you stated it perfectly yesterday. So God gives us the gifts. Um, we kind of work with that gift. We make it grow, and then we make or take the decision if we're gonna use that gift to glorify and honor God, or if we're just gonna worship other things with that gift. And sadly, a lot of people use that gift and just use it to praise and worship everything else but God who gave it to us. So you'll see that in music, you'll see that in acting, you'll see that in drawing, painting. You'll just see it everywhere. And if you think about it, people that God has blessed them with a right, like smart mind and being business savvy, well, God gave them the gift, but they'll just take it and they'll use it to make maybe more money and worry about them and care about them. So I believe the enemy is slick when it comes to just making sure that we are distracted from giving all of the glory to God and give some of the glory to Him or to other things that are not God.
Yeah. Now, that being said, this is not what I'm going to say right now. Is not to take away from what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, it's to explore that area. Um, are you aware? And I know I guess like in some ways you are, because I remember like in the past showing you some of this information myself. But are you aware that many of these artists, right? Like for example, Jay-Z, when he came out with I think it was the Blueprint 3. There's a
Mm-hmm.
song where he says himself, in one line he says, uh, "Jesus can't save you," right? And then you have Kanye West on one of his appearances or concerts on stage saying that he sold his soul to the devil. And then you have just countless and numerous like singers, artists, rappers mostly, kind of like openly stating how they have either in some way, shape, or form made a deal with the devil, and or just kind of like being having like an antichrist spirit, right? The reason I'm bringing that up is because one of the points that I wanted to bring or make in the last night's stream is that's one of the many reasons why I believe, uh, from what I've seen and read, that
Mm-hmm.
Satan primarily, I mean, you're right. He uses TV, he uses shows, he uses movies, he uses a painting, he uses visuals, he uses whatever he can get his hands on to
Right.
distract everyone, right? Because, of course, as they say, the biggest trick that the devil has pulled is making everybody believe that he don't exist, right? Everybody knows that quote, but no one digs deeper and says, why are so many artists and like singers and like rappers like saying these things that they're saying, right? And some people might say, oh, it's just like them expressing like their art. It's just them kind of like just writing something just randomly, or it didn't really mean what they meant. Is they were just like just writing something creative or whatever. But it gets to a point where it's like, how many of them have to like keep doing that to where we have to like question it and be like, why? Like, why so many like artists and singers and rappers just doing these things and saying these things? And when you kind of like play back some of Jay-Z's songs in that same album, the Blueprint 3, there's messages that were placed there on purpose, because you don't do backmasking by accident. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? That you don't put certain verses or words, by accident or randomly when you play back an audio to a song, right?
Right.
So I guess with all that I'm saying, do you at least have the hide or kind of like hold the possibility that, yeah, like the enemy greatly uses music to influence, to entertain the mind and kind of like stray it off the path, and all these other things that I'm not going to get into right now because we only have about 5 minutes left. But
Yeah.
yeah, do you
Yeah.
reserve
I
like the
mean, yeah.
possibility for that?
Like, yeah. Like what I would say is that I believe it's one of the streams that he uses the most. I believe it's one of the streams that is easiest for him to like use, right? But the what I'm trying to say, I guess, is that even though I understand it's one of the streams that he uses the most,
Right.
I would never want to mark it as this is the one that he uses and that's it. Because
Right. Agreed.
like just how there are singers or rappers, right, that in their songs they'll say something like "I sold my soul to the devil," right, or they'll say something bad about Jesus. Well, in the movies, you'll see actors saying stuff like that, right? People that write novels, you'll see them writing stuff like that in their novels, right? People that draw paintings, right? They'll put something like that in the art. So, in all of these different streams, people kind of say the same things, right, or do the same things, right? So, I do believe music is one of those things that is the easiest to like spread. If you want to spread a message, you use music. That's why like commercials they'll use music to try to get you hooked on that commercial and buying the product, right? So music is what they teach little kids in kindergarten, right? Preschool, how
Right.
to learn letters and numbers. So
Yes.
just how music is so instrumental in teaching something and getting you to remember something. It's just that easy to make people worship different things. So I do like I said earlier, I believe music is one of the strongest avenues that he uses to derail people from serving the Lord. I just wouldn't say that it's like the only one, right? I believe
Right.
just how there's singers and musicians that will say stuff like the ones that you said, right? Or do stuff that they do in the videos. There's actors or actresses that will do stuff like that, right? Or movie producers or movie writers that will put stuff like that, elements like that in their movies or in their videos, in their TV series. So it's all combined. Like right now, I started reading a book. It's called
3 minutes.
El Alma Artesanal. It's like the artist soul or something like that. It's a
Okay.
pastor. He's from, I think it's Los Angeles. And basically the book starts out by saying, trying to kill this myth, the myth, that when people say, "Oh, I'm not creative," like, "Hey, that person, he's really creative, but I'm not creative." So the book, he starts it out by like trying to like kill that myth, because he's like, our God is the creator of the universe. Our
Right.
God creates, right?
Amen.
Our God is an artist.
Amen.
And God made us, right? A su imagen y su semejanza, right? So I don't know how you translate that in English, but
So
he
his likeness.
his likeness, right? So there's stuff that he put in us that makes us like look like him, right? Or be like him.
Right.
So what the pastor is getting at, right, is if our God is the creator of the universe and he created a bunch of things, he wants you to be a creator, right? So for you to create things,
Right.
right? So just like that, the enemy's gonna try to confuse us, and he's gonna try to get you to use that gift that God gave you to use it for His purpose, for His will, instead of using it for God's purpose, God's will. Like I know yesterday you were looking for a name.
Oh, the pianist.
Jerry
You
Lee
know who I was
Lewis.
talking about. Yeah. Yes. Jerry Lee Lewis. That's
Jerry
who I
Lee
was.
Lewis. So I looked it up for you, and I was going through the like library of the university, trying to like do some research before the program. I couldn't really do as much research as I would have liked, but it's funny because there's this one book that the
1 minute.
title just called my attention. I don't know how legit the book is. I don't know how legit the author is. I know the publisher is Harvard University.
Right.
So, I mean, that's not saying that it's the most spiritual book,
Right.
but at least when it comes to like scholarship or like academically speaking, it should be a responsible book, right? If they're publishing, I would like to think so. But the thing that killed me was the title and the subtitle. So the title is "The Devil's Music," and the subtitle is "How Christians Inspired, Condemned, and Embraced Rock and Roll." Right?
Interesting. That is an
So
interesting book to look into.
yeah, so that part, like when I read the subtitle, I was like, what? Because you know what I'm saying, how Christians inspired, condemned, and embraced rock and roll. So I wanted to read you a part from the book that I found to be interesting, and this is Jerry Lee Lewis, right? So basically, the introduction to the book is starting out like in 2014, when like Jerry Lee Lewis was 79 years old, right? And this saying basically he entered in a quiet, more reflective phase of his life. And in this moment, he was, you know, kind of like they were doing interviews, and he was kind of like thinking about life and thinking about like different stuff that happened to him. His life was pretty tragic. He was saying here, like, you know, he had like a couple like great hits, but in the middle of that, he had problems with the IRS. He had run-ins with the law. He succumbed to drugs and alcohol. One of his sons drowned in a swimming pool. Another died in a Jeep accident. So his life was kind of like pretty tragic, right? And I'm reading this part. I'm gonna have to look up some more information because from what I'm understanding from this part that I'm reading, he like one night he showed up at Elvis Presley's like mansion, like waving a gun, and like I guess he was going after Elvis or something like that. So it's kind of like crazy how the intro to the book is, but basically it says this: late in life, however, it seemed as though Jerry Lee wanted to set things right. I put God first now, always. An older Shaston, Jerry Lee, told Patrick Doyle of Rolling Stone magazine, I pray all the time. Really. I do a lot of what's required, he confessed. I pay my tithes, offerings to at the Church of God in Cleveland, Tennessee. That's how I was raised, right? So it goes off more saying, you know, that him, like Johnny Cash, like
That's
they
another
were kind
one,
of like
Johnny Cash.
that's I think that's one of the other ones that you mentioned yesterday. They were raised kind of like in the same denomination, right? They were raised in that Pentecostal type. So um, he says, I was always worried whether I was going to heaven or hell. He confided. I still am. I worry about it before I go to bed. It's a very serious situation. I mean, you worry when you breathe your last breath. Where are you going to go? So basically, there he was giving like some more information, and then this and I'm almost finishing because I know our time is almost up. Like this guy doing an interview asked them, "Is it true that you believe you're a sinner and going to hell for playing rock and roll?" And Lewis fired back saying, "Yep, I know the right way." He replied emphatically, I was raised a good Christian, but I couldn't make it. Too weak, I guess. So basically, there it kind of goes down and it talks about, you know, how you're talking about Pastor Jimmy Swaggart,
Right, right,
which was his cousin, right? You're
right.
kind of looking for these names yesterday,
Mhm.
and his cousin, which is was a pastor, right? He was during this time, like in the 80s, he was talking about how his cousin, how his family started rock and roll, right? So I'm guessing that's where the book comes up with that subtitle saying how Christians inspired it, right?
Mhm.
Because like you were saying yesterday, like a lot of these people that became like great artists, you know, like famous superstars, rock stars, they began like playing, singing at church, right?
Mhm.
And somehow they got drifted away. Now, this is where we're gonna go into this world that we're really not gonna be sure until we're up there, right? Or unless some of these people say, "This is what I did." This, you
Right,
know, this whole "I sold my soul to the devil" kind of thing, right?
right.
Or is it just that I made a decision that I was gonna use my talents for this, right? And knowingly, instead of worshiping God, I'm worshiping other things, right?
Right.
And one day in my life, hopefully, I'll get a chance to ask for forgiveness and get my stuff straight with God. So I guess there's a lot of things. There's a lot of information out there. we just gotta be responsible with it. I would say that the most important thing, if all of this is true, is just for us to kind of like reflect every day, right? The
Right.
gifts that God gave me to use for His
Right.
glory, for His
Hmm.
purpose. What am I doing with these gifts, right? I mean, that's what I think should be the objective. If like let's say that Isaiah verse, if it has something to do with Lucifer, with Satan, um, then it'll prove something, right? It'll prove that he kind of dealt with that. But even if that verse has nothing to do with that, from how we see the devil work throughout the Bible, it gives us kind of the same playbook, right? He'll always try to get people to get distracted from God,
Right.
and go and worship other things through different means and different avenues. So even if that verse wouldn't fall, I mean, everything that we're saying is still true to the character of who the devil is, right?
Right. Yep. And I'll follow that up with simply saying, every single one of us, okay, you, me, people around us, right, people at work, people that we go to church with, our neighbors, friends, family, everyone has a God-given ability, God-given talent, God-given gift. Because, as you said earlier, when we are created by God, right, before we even enter the womb of our mothers, right,
Mm-hmm.
we are already designed to perfection, and God does give us gifts, right?
Right.
It is up to us, to place those gifts and abilities and talents into God's hands and allow Him to work through us and with us, right?
Right.
To allow us to be a blessing to those around us. Or, are you wanting to use those gifts and talents and abilities for your own gain or to worship other things, which
Right.
eventually and ultimately end up worshiping the devil? Because if you don't, if you're not worshiping God, that's just the way it is. If you're not worshiping God or living for God, no matter how you want to look at it, you're worshiping the devil. That's just the way
Right.
it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so man, this was really good, man. And I wish we could like keep going all the way to like 5 hours straight, but that's not a reality. So
Yeah.
so I am gonna cut this like in about 2, 3 minutes. But before we do go, I want to remind everybody, all right, if you like what you see here tonight, okay, with this recording, like what we talked about, enjoyed the conversation, was this conversation of a blessing to you, then please share the stream forward with your friends and family, your neighbors, your coworkers, whoever you think this will be a blessing to, right? Also, same thing like I said earlier, if you wanted to help the channel out, help us grow, subscribe to the channel, give this video a like, and share it forward, right? Pretty straightforward. And financially, if you can and want to, you don't have to, but if you can and want to, just make sure your personal finances are in order first before even considering blessing this channel. But there is the option on the bottom left and bottom right, the QR codes you can scan and help this channel keep moving forward financially. It'll be a blessing to us and yourself as well. So that being said, all right, that being said, I believe this is one of those conversations and topics that can actually be expanded even more on, which we will do eventually at some point. We'll come back to this topic,
Yeah.
whether it be a month from now, 2 months from now. But I want to have the whole panel at the same time on the actual like recording or stream. That way we can kind of like share opinions, information, from each other, like we did, between you and me just tonight. We could do
Yeah.
it with the other panel members or co-hosts. So that'll be in the future. Do you have anything to add from the investigation work you did before this recording that you want to add on before we close out?
Nah, I would just say we kind of need more time to get more information, more in depth, and to make sure that we're being responsible, right, with handling the word. So yeah, let's see if and sometime we could try to do this again and see if we found something different. See if what we're finding really matches with what like scripture is on scripture. Um, and a fascinating topic that I think it's important, and I think, like we said, like you said earlier, right? At the end of the day, the objective, the purpose of this is for us to take a look at our lives and say, like, what am I doing with the talents that God gave me? Am I using it for God's glory, or am I using it for my glory, which would at the end of the day be worshiping, you know, the enemy? So yeah, let's just take a moment every day and kind of think, like, what am I doing with my life, with the talents that God gave me, and hopefully we could set a lot of this stuff straight.
Amen to that. Amen to that. All right, brother man. We're gonna close out, and we're gonna thank God for all the glory for allowing this to happen. And I really do hope this is a blessing for anybody and everybody who actually takes the time to look at this recording. And yeah, God bless every single one of you guys who's going to be watching this in the future. David, thanks for being here, bro. I really do appreciate you. I'm gonna let you go off the stream, and I'm gonna say some final official last words before I leave the actual stream itself. But thanks for stopping by, man. I really do appreciate your presence here.
All right, love you guys. Take care.
All right, peace. All right, so before I close out, just real quick, one last thing. Just make sure you're ready for winter, all right? With jdqjustdon'tquit.com. You can get your hoodie or t-shirts, prepare yourself for winter time. That's another way you can help a brother out and help support this channel and myself keep moving forward with what we're doing here, all right? So anyways, guys, God bless every single one of you guys. I love every single one of you as well. And as always, stay safe, stay blessed, and peace out.